There was a story today in Roll Call that shows just how small the Democrat majority legislative agenda actually is. 16% of the bills this majority has brought to the floor has been non-binding resolutions. When you remove suspensions, that number jumps to 21%. Nearly a quarter of the most important bills brought to the floor have been non-binding resolutions. And if you thought that might slow down, if you thought they figured they ought to stop it, think again. They just introduced another non-binding resolution on the president's consideration to shut down the southern border, an action the president hasn't even taken. Speaker Pelosi has turned the House of Representatives into the house of non-binding resolutions. When I campaigned, I've never heard one person tell me to go to Washington to pass a resolution. The American people sent us here to solve problems, not to take messaging vote after messaging vote. Now, in contrast, the president and I will be traveling to the border tomorrow to hear directly from the law enforcement on the crisis at this border, and I look forward to hearing each and every one of them and get a better understanding. This lack of seriousness is happening in committees too, a place where serious lawmaking is actually supposed to take place. The most concerning to me is what took place yesterday. Ways and Means Committee, probably the most revered committee in all of the Capitol. They voted yesterday to weaponize the IRS to attack political opponents. Not only is it a waste of time, it sets a dangerous standard of having the federal government used as a political weapon. Finally, I want to mention something that just happened on the floor. I did not think this day would come. I did not think it would happen to the House of Representatives. I did not think it would ever happen in America. But all the talk that we've seen in this new Democrat socialist movement, the comments they have made, the challenges and the questions they have made to those of the Jewish faith, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions BDS movement aims to deny Jewish people the right to self-determination in their ancestral homeland. And it seeks to destabilize the Jewish state by encouraging a targeted economic war against Israel. The BDS movement is not interested in coexistence. It seeks further conflict and is unwilling to make concessions. The Democrat majority has blocked a vote on opposing BDS over and over again. They refused to take up Senate 1, S1. It passed the Senate by 77 votes. Tell me what passes the Senate by that high a margin. But this new Democrat socialist movement in the House won't even assign it to a committee or refer it. They refuse to mark up its companion version, H.R. 336, and they refuse to bring to the floor a simple bipartisan resolution, House Reg 246. They bring a lot of other resolutions to the floor, but they refuse to bring this one. It condemns the BDS movement. But today was most shocking. Today was a day in history I did not want to see in America. Today, every Democrat but 5 voted against an amendment to reject the BDS movement. Every Democrat but 5 would not stand with Israel today. This is a turning moment for America. With that, I'll open it up for questions. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Leader, would you like Congress to see the full unredacted Mueller report coming, not necessarily the public?
I think Attorney General Barr said he will send it to us, and I want to see it directly as the law states.
Not in its unredacted form.
Well, I think legally from the standpoint from the grand jury or any intel protections for America, I think that's appropriate. Right now, members we don't get every intel point because you don't want that all spread out. So I think the Attorney General, you'll see exactly what the law says we should, and I think we all should see that.
And are you confident that he characterized Mr. Mueller's assessments correctly, considering that some of Mueller's investigators are now saying that they are unhappy with how Barr summarized their work?
You know, Barr had to do a very quick job, and I see the work that Attorney General Barr done has been amazing. I've watched his work before. I would not question his legal opinion. He wanted to get something to the American public, and he's promised the American public that he's bringing the rest to us. What's interesting is that the Democrats won't even give him 2 weeks. No, I do not question it. I believe what Mr. Barr put out is what he saw. Yes, ma'am.
Do you support closing the southern border?
Look, what I support is making sure the southern border is secure. We have a crisis along the southern border. There's things that Congress needs to do. This challenge what is happening today. I was in El Paso last week. I will be with the president traveling tomorrow. I don't believe anybody wants to close the southern border. That is not the objective from anyone. We know the economics. We want the southern border to be strong. We also want to have it secure. But now, because of the law of this land, you have an asylum question. You have children who are unaccompanied that you can't take back to their parents. Our law doesn't allow us to do that if they're outside of Mexico. We have a challenge that people are coming from other countries, but traveling through other countries and not claiming asylum till they get to America. We have a broken system. It is every measurement and metrics that you see, probably one of the greatest crises we have seen along our southern border in more than decades. And for the Democratic Party to deny what is happening there, for the Democratic Party to continue just to pass resolutions instead of solve a problem, I'm not quite sure why they ran if this is what they're going to do inside the House. Yes.
I know you talked about the tax returns just briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Can you respond to what Speaker Pelosi said just a few hours ago at the same podium, defending their right to go after these returns? She read U.S. code from that podium.
To weaponize. Ask me any American wants to give the power to a committee to go after you because they politically disagree with you. The Democrats decided the day after the election that they would not accept it. So we just put America through 22 months of, you know the statistics, of 2,500 subpoenas, of 40 agents, 19 attorneys, going to 13 other countries. And they came back and they couldn't create something that they tried to make up. So what do they do now? They use the power of government, the fear that every American has. The government has become so strong they go after you because they don't politically agree with you. Is wrong. When will they accept the last election? Would they like? People will change the majority inside Congress. Do we really want to have a body that goes after people's IRS reports simply because you politically disagree with them? Did the president provide every financial statement that he needed to run for president, the standards that they have out there, the law that they have out there? Yes, he filled them all out. So why do they use this? Why wouldn't they put the American public first? Why wouldn't we start talking about the problems we have? Why wouldn't we actually produce legislation instead of resolutions? This is all about politics. I mean, it's almost as though the Democratic House is not members of Congress. They're the members of the DCCC. They write resolutions and they do political attacks. When do they want to start legislating? When do they start working for the American public? They know it's wrong, and I think it's a very terrible standard to set for this nation, and it's scary if it would be taken forward. Yes.
Do you believe, now that the Ways and Means Committee is demanding that the IRS hand over 6 years of Donald Trump's tax returns and tax returns of businesses linked to him, do you believe Speaker Pelosi should release her tax returns and the tax returns of businesses linked to her family for the same period of years?
I think to use it for political means is wrong for any side of the aisle. There are standards of what we have to file, financial disclosure statements to run for office. That is what the law says. Just as I don't go back to somebody 4 or 5 years ago and said you went faster than a current speed limit or something in the past. We believe in the rule of law in this nation. And for the idea that we're going to let government become so powerful to go after and intimidize individuals, did we not just put the country through enough? Did we just not spend $25 million? Did we just not have, and what will they find in these tax returns that Mueller could not find, that the 40 agents, that the 2,500 subpoenas, and the 500 witnesses? Nothing is there, so why do you continue to put the country through this? It says a lot about their characters and a lot about their value, that they want to weaponize government to punish individuals because they politically disagree with them and they can't accept an election. Yes?
The Trump administration has taken a position that they don't want to raise the budget cap. They don't want to make any statutory change to the sequestration cap. Are House Republicans going to back the administration on that position, or are you guys open to participating in bipartisan and bicameral talks?
Look, I always believe in bipartisanship. What's very interesting is what Nancy Pelosi has said for decades. Show me your budget, show me your values. And this is a new majority that does not pass bills, passes resolutions, and now won't do a budget. And we know we've got a crisis on our hands. We know we have sequestration if action is not taken. So I always think it's appropriate that we sit down together to try to solve this. Unfortunately, it goes to seem that the political arm of the new Democrat socialists are running the Democratic majority inside the House. Yes, sir.
On Tree, Pelosi earlier said she's not going to use the USMCA as a bargaining chip to get something, and she also said
That's fantastic. Schedule the floor.
she's open to side agreements to fix it rather than reopening it. How optimistic are you at the end of the day this can get approved by Congress this year?
I know from our side of the aisle, we will do our part, and we're ready to move forward with it. We think it's positive for the entire country and also positive for our partners who we trade with. It is one of the promises that the president said he would do, that he would modernize the NAFTA agreement. I think it's a win-win for all, and I think it would be a big success for our economy as well. And you know what? If I was in the majority, I'd give you 100% yes. Unfortunately, we don't have 218 on our side. I haven't watched the Democrats pass major legislation yet, but I will promise them we will give them our help to be able to move it forward. She controls the floor. She can schedule it, and we can get it through. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any situations in which you believe Congress should have access to grand jury testimony when it's doing its own investigation?
Are you referring to the Mueller? How are you doing?
Yeah, because I understand where you all are coming from on the Mueller report and Barr and.
But it's not just that. You can go to any report that Independence has done in the past. There's a reason why they do not bring in the grand jury. If somebody was not indicted, why should that information go forward? The grand jury was able to look at it and go forward. So I don't see in this current situation why that would be the case. I don't see why we would change the current law. We just went through 22 months. We found that there was no collusion and no obstruction. Why do they want to continue it to go forward? Just because they disagree with the outcome of an election? Why can't they put the public forward? And if we really believe in the rule of law, let's follow the rule of law. Let's not weaponize our government to go after people because they disagree with them. I think that is wrong, and I don't think that's healthy. But more importantly, the thing that concerns me the most is what I just saw happen on the floor of the House. You've covered this body for quite some time. If somebody would have come to you and you've watched how bipartisan we've ever been with our relationship with the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel, that an entity wants to go and destroy Israel by boycotting, sanctions, divesting, and you couldn't even stand up to say that is wrong. You won't schedule a bill that has passed the Senate by 77 votes, but every single Democrat but 5 voted against Israel and voted to allow the BDS movement to grow. Today is a sad day. Today is a day that should not happen in this House and should not happen in America. And I never thought, regardless of what the disagreements I've had with the other side of the aisle, that they would come to this conclusion, that they would step to this moment. The comments that I've heard the months before, I thought that maybe it would have been isolated to just a few members. But today was different. Today, the majority of the Democrats accepted what the other Democrats have been saying. That is not a day to be proud of, and that's not a day and a vote that they should stand with. I yield back.